Okay, we've just had the lesson, and I thought I'd better just go through rearranging that tricky equation that you don't need to learn because you get given it in any exams, okay? And this is the one that says v squared minus u squared equals 2ax. V being the final speed, final velocity the object gets up to, or down to if it's decelerating. U is the initial speed, 2 is just the number 2. A is how much you're accelerating by, and x is the distance that you would cover while accelerating from speed u to speed v, okay, or velocity u to velocity v. Right, so to rearrange this for each of the different terms, if I wanted to have that equation written for v, then what I'd need to do is add u squared to the other side, and then to get v, that would be v squared, and then to get v on its own I need to square root both sides, so that would mean you'd have to square root whatever value you got. So if the question said you started off an initial speed of whatever and you travelled this distance and you're accelerating by this amount, how fast would you be travelling at the end of your journey? You would plug the numbers in, 2 times a times x, you would add your initial speed squared, and then whatever that value is, you square root it, and that would be your final speed. If you wanted to find out what your initial speed is, if you were given your final speed, your acceleration, and your distance, then this time, if we've added u squared to that side, we'd need to take 2ax away from that side, so we'd have v squared minus 2ax, and then to get u on its own, because remember this is u squared, we just have to square root that entire term. So that's finding in terms of v, finding in terms of u. Let's find in terms of a. So if you wanted to know how much you're accelerating, if you knew what you accelerated from what speed to what speed and how far you'd travelled, okay, then you would do, you'd need to do the opposite of times by 2x, you'd need to divide by 2x, so that's v squared minus u squared divided by 2x. And then finally, if we wanted our equation in terms of distance travelled, because the question gave you it's the initial speed of the object, the final speed, and the acceleration, how much it accelerates by, it says how far have you travelled, then what you'd need to do is, because this on this side of the equation is times by 2a, you'd need to divide the other side by 2a, okay? So there's kind of the equation, and there it is rearranged for each of the different terms. Okay, now one extra thing that's what I was going to mention. Obviously you would only use this equation if you didn't have the time. I mean, like the time, not as in the time to do the question, the time in the calculation. So if you were given time, okay, and then speed and velocity, you know that acceleration is final velocity minus initial velocity times by the time taken, divided by the time taken. So if you are given time, you just use this expression. This one you have to learn, this one you are given, okay? So I'll reiterate that. If in a question they give you time and velocity, final and initial, and acceleration, any of these three terms, you can find the fourth term with this equation. But if there is no time and they give you final velocity, initial velocity, acceleration, and distance travelled, you would have to use this equation, and you'd have to rearrange for whatever unknown quantity they do not give you, okay? Right, hopefully that helps.